Bettina heartbeat that I make quality videos.
I used to be a grader and an occasional substitute prof for an introductory astronomy lab. That means that the majority of the people in this lab are only taking it because it's a requirement, and about half of them think it's an astrology class. I was grading midterms, and this one girl, she was so nice, and I think she was a business major. Fuck. The question on the midterm was to draw a diagram of the solar system, and this poor girl, this fucking girl had drawn a Mars-centric solar system, as in every planet and the sun were orbiting Mars. I now actually have a custom Cards Against Humanity card I got at a con that says, a Mars-centric solar system. I had a boy argue with me that there was liquid water on the moon. This was around when they had found liquid water on Mars in 2015, and he wouldn't believe me that he likely meant Mars and not the moon. After I marked his answer to the relevant lab question wrong, he took it to the department head, who had promptly laughed him out of the office. And there was another boy who, during a lab in our observatory where we would look at certain things in the sky, asked where the sun was, at 10 p.m. in November. After some questioning, it was revealed that he thought the moon and the sun were the same thing. My friend, whom I love dearly, found out that the moon orbits the Earth as a 20-year-old in an upper-level political science class, and was utterly and completely flabbergasted. When questioned, her defense was that she doesn't have anything to do with the moon, so why would she have needed to know? I was once talking to a friend of mine about how at that point in time, you could see Mars, Jupiter, and Venus at the same time, which was pretty cool. And she said, "Where's Pluto?" Wait, it was destroyed. And that's how I found out that my friend, who is in her third year of a medical degree, thought that Pluto stopped being a planet because it was eaten by a black hole. When I was in physics class my sophomore year of high school, the teacher drew a simplified diagram of a person standing on the planet Earth as part of the explanation for how it was initially discovered that the Earth was round. And one girl sitting in the class said, "Wait, we live on the outside?" She had spent her whole life thinking that the Earth was a hollow sphere and that we lived on the inner walls of it. I had a coworker in his early 20s who, when I mentioned seeing and admiring how bright Mars was that morning on the drive to work, laughed and said, "Mars? Like the planet?" And I was like, "Yeah, Mars the planet. It looks like a very bright star. It was supposed to be extra bright and close lately." And he got quiet and oddly worried, and he said quietly, carefully, "Are planets real?" Like he was checking to see if I was completely insane. I experienced a brief moment of crisis and said back, "Yes, planets are real. Did you think they weren't real?" And he looked even more disturbed and said, "No, they're just made up for movies and shit, right?" And I was totally horrified by this point and said, "Planets are real. The solar system has 9 of them. The universe has billions of them. We make up fictional planets for movies, but there are definitely real planets that actually exist." He said, like he sincerely thought I was fucking with him, "How do you know planets are real?" I said, "I've seen them. I've seen Saturn through a telescope. You can go outside right now and see Mars and Venus in the sky. I swear that planets are a real thing." He said, muttering now, "Well, maybe that's just what you think." The conversation did not get any better from there. Was at the planetarium once and overheard 2 middle-aged women talking about the flat Earth theory. One of them said that she thinks they have a point because if the world was round, you'd be able to cut off a lot of flight time going south over Antarctica to get to London from Australia. She thought the Arctic and Antarctic were the same place, that north and south on the flat map were connected the same way the eastern and western edges are. At work, I was showing this woman a lunar calendar, normal calendar that shows you what each day's moon phase is for the year, and she asked me, "Are these things, accurate?" She was fully convinced that the moon phases were mysterious, unpredictable occurrences, and any attempts to track them were akin to horoscope predictions. I was so taken aback I could only respond, "Yes, scientists are pretty confident about the moon's orbit. It has nothing to do with me, so I wasn't interested," is a take I've heard from folks in their 50s about geography. But, there was the lady who was genuinely convinced that sentient creatures lived on the moon and were communicating with Antarctica. Absolutely insane.